After 4 hours of hands-on with Horizon Forbidden West, we feel like we've only scratched the surface, but still found an incredible amount of detail in Guerrilla Games' sequel. Aloy's world is brought to life in much more vivid detail, with improved animation, new machines, an evolved combat system, and so much more. While we await its full release on February 18th for PS4 and PS5, let's dig into all the amazing new details we discovered about Horizon Forbidden West and why they should have you just as excited as we are. Climbing is much more free and open in Forbidden West than it was in Zero Dawn. Not every single inch of every surface is climbable, but far more of it is, making traversal so much smoother in the sequel. You can use your focus to temporarily highlight climbable portions of the environment. There are some points you'll see both in and out of the focus that you'll use the Pullcaster for. This new bit of Aloy's equipment loadout can pull her from much further away to grasp onto a ledge. It's used like a double jump where you hit X again in the air to employ it. You can also pull cast out of a glide using the new shield wing, so if you happen to be gliding by a cliff and realize there's a spot a little above you, you can easily get to it. We won't spoil how, but Aloy will acquire the shield wing early in the game during a story quest, so don't worry about missing out on your sky-soaring dreams. In fact, the developers ensure that all of these major tools would be something players would be able to pick up, though there will be weapons and things that you can collect on the periphery.
One of the things is there's just a lot more verticality to this world, sort of from the tallest mountain or skyscraper all the way down to the ground, but also now with these new underwater sections in the game, there was a new forms of exploration, new things to explore, and just a whole new kind of geometry there.
Speaking of equipment, Aloy will gain some weapons and items through the main quest, such as the trusty tripcaster like the one in Zero Dawn.
Workmanship looks solid enough.
Others will be obtained through side quests. A cool new explosive weapon, the Javelin Thrower, is one of the first you'll come across, while a later one, the Shredder Gauntlet, offers a new twist on combat. Two new elemental options we saw include Acid and Plasma. Players can now invest in 6 different skill trees with the points they earn. These include Warrior, Trapper, Hunter, Survivor, Infiltrator, and Machine Master. Valor Surges will be unlocked by choosing specific abilities surrounding a surge on any given tree and unlocking those first. Aloy can now upgrade equipment at workbenches in the environment, and still use the Create Job function to track down specific parts for needed upgrades. Outfits can also be upgraded, and can even provide stat boosts to specific skills in Aloy's skill trees. Potions and other consumables return, and Aloy will be able to purchase them and other things from various sellers. Cooks for skill-boosting food, herbalists for potions, hunters for weapons, and stitchers for outfits. A new type of machine called the Burrower is a Watcher-level threat, but with a few new moves, including the ability to, well, burrow. Bristlebacks are a new machine type as well, akin to the Chargers, but they have acid canisters on their backs. Spiking those with an acid arrow is the key to victory. The Slitherfang, which we did not fight in the wild and only saw in the new arena, has a variety of attacks, including the ability to burrow underground and leap back up somewhere else, as well as shoot lightning from its tail, and even electrify parts of the environment. Melee combat also feels vastly improved. Some of the highlights include the ability for players to use the Resonator Blast to charge up Aloy's weapon, strike an enemy and imbue them with energy, and then cause a massive amount of damage with an arrow aimed at that specific spot. Players will be able to test their melee skills in melee pits that will be located throughout the Forbidden West. You'll come to your first in Chainscrape. The arena is a large, optional side attraction for players to engage in. Complete challenges against various different machines, and do so under a time limit to earn medals to unlock great equipment. You can also compete with friends in online leaderboards for the best times.
We wanted to make sure that there's a certain path through this game where if players want to experience the main quest and kind of get to the end of the story as quickly as possible, that they could do that. And also, there's definitely a progression through this game that's really focused on combat. Like if you want to just fight the biggest and baddest machines, we're going to let that happen. The arena is like a great example of that, where you can actually do it repeatedly.
Never seen anyone use one of those to get around.
Aloy's journey picks up roughly 6 months after the end of Horizon Zero Dawn. Her main quest, of course, is to stop the red blight that is seemingly infecting the world as she hopes to prevent another mass extinction of humanity. After an intro we haven't seen, Aloy believes she can find answers in the Forbidden West, land beyond the Nora, Oseram, and Karja territory we already know. But the border is currently guarded by Karja leadership on her side, and a group of members from the Tenakth tribe waiting on the other. The Tenakth are actually made up of 3 different civilizations, each with their own customs and ways of life. They are one of 2 big new tribes, the other being the Utaru.
You know, with the Tenakth, you see a lot of drilling, a lot of practice fighting, a lot of games that kind of feel like one-upsmanship between the tribal members, whereas the Utaru are much more focused on a kind of agrarian lifestyle, on music, on crafting, like sort of more in the weaving zone.
For Aloy to pass the border, she needs a planned embassy meeting between the Karja and the Tenakth to go well. Without spoiling it in too fine a detail, it does not go well.
Arrest her!
I'd like to see you try!
Aloy will meet the new antagonist Regala early on in her journey, and without spoiling it in detail as well, she has quite the memorable, frightening introduction. Settlements are going to be a much larger part of your time in Forbidden West, with new and returning side quest types, more lively NPCs and interactions, and much more variety in animation. Chainscrape is a new one that we saw during our preview. Aloy could craft health potions and other boosts, but one of the easiest ways to refill health was to pick up life-granting fauna in the world. Until your stash was limited, of course. Luckily in Forbidden West, if you reach your capacity for health berries, which was 10 of them during the early portion I played, you can collect even more. They're just sent back to your general stash. And if you hold down up on the D-pad, you can refill your on-hand collection so that you never run out. Aloy will be able to access this stash from various settlements throughout Forbidden West. The focus is key to observing machines before you fight, but in Zero Dawn you'd have to carefully move the right stick around to highlight each part. Worry no longer. Hitting left or right on the D-pad lets you cycle through each specific part of a machine that you're focused on, and it's much less fiddly. You can even track specific body parts if you're trying to collect specific canisters or horns, which will keep just those elements highlighted in the focus's outline while in combat.
Welcome to Chainscrape, Savior.
Open up, guys. Jor's orders.
Good enough for me.
Side quests across the board are meant to be more valuable and engaging for Forbidden West players than they were in Zero Dawn. For example, an early mission in the Chainscrape settlement rewards players a brand new type of weapon, the explosive javelin thrower. This mission also introduced 2 new NPCs I immediately loved, Della and Boomer, and it won't be the last players see of this delightful new pair.
There are side quests in this game that are of similar scope to those in Zero Dawn, but we always wanted to make sure they felt a little bit more satisfying, a little bit more emotional, and definitely a little bit more tied into the companions and other NPCs. So generally speaking, if you do a side quest in Forbidden West, that's not the last you'll see of that NPC.
You can have the discount too, but you'll have to come back later.
A new side quest includes a series of melee pits. The first is in Chainscrape, but you'll find more in the Forbidden West. They'll help train you on new combat techniques and test your skills with the ultimate goal of defeating a member of the Tenakth tribe known as the Enduring. Another side quest known as Vista Points will see Aloy gain some data from mysterious metal posts. They're basically radio towers from our world. Players will see part of an image corresponding to a location from the old world that they'll then have to line up with a spot in Aloy's timeline. They're sorta similar to vantage points from Horizon Zero Dawn, but a bit more interactive and intensive. Horizon's denizens have their own board game called Machine Strike, and it is a lot of fun. As we've seen, it operates as a 1v1 game in which players move pieces around a board, and those pieces represent different machines that you might see out in the real world. Your intention is to knock out your opponent's machines. The board you're playing on is a bunch of different little spaces that you'll move around, and all of these little spaces on the board can represent different terrain. There can be advantages and disadvantages based on where the armor of your machine is located as well. And while in the games we played, we only had 2 machines to play with and our opponent only used 2 machines, you'll be able to unlock more and build up a better roster of machines to play with. In the Forbidden West, you'll run into a quest line known as salvage contracts, in which Aloy must hunt down specific parts to provide to outfitters who are ultimately aiming to make an incredible suit of armor for the savior of Meridian. And those are just some of the incredible details that we learned in playing Horizon Forbidden West. Of course, if you want to hear more about our thoughts about how Forbidden West played, be sure to check out our full hands-on preview, and even check out a gameplay comparison about how Forbidden West is stacking up to Zero Dawn. And for everything else in the world of Horizon, you're already in the right place, IGN.
Just the hammer. Just the fight.
Aloy?
Errand!